Good morning, everyone. I'm new here. I've been CEO of the Cibolo Center for Conservation for just 10 months, since July. What I'm new to is not just the Cibolo, but to your world, to conservation and stewardship of land, water, and wildlife, conservation of the earth. Before that, I was in higher education for 39 years. In higher education administration for 32 years, the last 10 as president of St. Mary's University in San Antonio. So you should be asking yourselves, what the heck am I doing here? And even more audaciously, why do I think I should be speaking to you? Well, that's too long a story to tell given the remaining 6 or 7 minutes that I have. But I will say that my reason for being involved in the Cibolo Center is like yours. I want to continue to use my gifts and talents to serve my community. In the time I have with you this morning, I'm going to talk about mainly just one of the 3 pillars of our mission, our education mission, which we call for pre-K to gray. And I'm particularly going to emphasize for pre-K to young adults, because that is so central to all that we do. The other 2 pillars of our mission are, as you would expect, conservation and stewardship. We have a campus of about 160 acres, and we conserve another 80 to 100 acres, but the campus is 160 acres, and that is our effort since 1988, among other things, to preserve the watershed of the Cibolo Creek, which runs right through the center of Boerne. The Cibolo Center itself is right in the center of Boerne. And the third pillar is, I heard earlier a speaker talk about community as the most important thing she did. Community. We serve the people of Boerne. As I mentioned, we're right in the center of Boerne. We serve San Antonio and then people in the surrounding hill country counties as well. You might ask, why focus on the education pillar rather than the other 2, or why not all 3? Well, back to my story, I'm most familiar with education and now in my 10th of a new adventure. But more importantly, our education programs, if not unique, are really distinctive and pervasive. The best way to begin the remaining minutes I have is to frame the Cibolo's education mission for pre-K to young adults in terms of 2 questions. First, think about it, what are some of the most serious challenges, not only for the next generation, but for the next few generations? And secondly, what can the Cibolo Center do, even in a small way, to address those changes? What have we done? Now, many of you, I'll see a show of hands here, many of you may be familiar with the New York Times bestseller by Jonathan Haidt, The Anxious Generation. Yeah, it's a worth a read. Haidt's thesis is simple and I think deeply troubling. Since sometime in the 1990s, he asserts, we have moved from a play-based childhood to a phone-based childhood. You know some of the disturbing data. Children and young people now average 7 hours per day of screen time. They spend less than 10 minutes each day playing outdoors. The net impacts on young people are tragic to body, mind, and spirit. Higher levels of obesity and diabetes, attention difficulties, and lower levels of academic achievement. Higher incidence of depression. One study shows that it's in his book, between 2010 and 2020, an increase of depression among boys at 140%, increase of depression among girls, increase of depression among girls is 140% increase of depression among boys is 160% increase. Similar increases in anxiety, body harming, and suicide attempts, especially among teenage girls. So with almost no time outside, children and young people have almost no appreciation of what we all know is the healing power of nature to bring happiness and peace and serenity. So how is the Cibolo addressing these challenges? By getting, not too surprisingly, by getting young kids and young people, pre-K through high school and college, outside on our 160-acre campus. We sponsor first what we call, I think this is our most, actually it's biggest investment too, our most innovative development. We sponsor what we call the Nest Nature School, a preschool for 3 to 5-year-olds in which our 80 students spend 75% of their time outside in nature. The kiddos help determine their curricula too, whether this week it's butterflies or trees, bluebonnet snakes or birds. In our teaching gardens, our preschoolers have their own garden bed where they work the soil and learn that vegetables come not from our favorite grocery store, by the way, it's H-E-B for the non-Texans here, but from the ground. We host spring and nature summer camps for 5 to 12-year-olds on our 160 acres, and we host field trips and science trips for high schoolers and college students as well. We've got 6 universities within 10 miles, 15 miles of Boerne. As you know, the problems are even more serious for children from low-income families. We try to address their green space deficits in these ways. Most of our field trips, students come from Title I schools in San Antonio. It's well over a majority. We provide a significant number of summer camp scholarships for children of low-income families. And each Friday, we call it our Deep Roots program. We host and serve 15 youths who are essentially fosterless. One of the real tragedies in our society. They hike on our campus, they garden, they also have a garden bed, a vegetable garden. They fish in the Cibolo Creek. They do everything that young children and high schoolers you would want to do every day, and they do it every Friday. Finally, I believe we're helping to develop with our high school and college students, and maybe even with our 3-year-olds, future servant leaders, future naturalists who are going to take some of your positions in maybe not the next few years, but 10 or 15 or 20 years. The dozen or so high school and college camp counselors we employ each summer are developing, this is obvious and intuitive, social skills and virtues and values that we cherish. Respect, patience, collaboration, self-confidence, and kindness. The several high school and college students who participate in the Cibolos, we have community science projects. They're basically monitoring surveys. Those high schoolers learn about the impacts of climate change, which you've heard probably throughout this morning. During the school year, in a program we call Trailblazers, every other week, 15 to 20 Boerne high schoolers are on our property learning how they can protect land, wildlife, and water, and they're volunteering on our campus to the 160 acres to preserve it as well. And this fall, we also began a program we call Teen Ambassador. This is about 10 or 12 of our high schoolers who we provide paid internships, and they host, serve, and educate sometimes the hundreds of visitors to our nature center on Saturdays. Those are the big days, and they're the ones who, again, developing their social skills, they're encountering people on the trails who really don't know what they're looking at, and they educate them on that. So to finish, and to paraphrase the words of Aldo Leopold, our educational programming for children and young people are leading them to see, quote, land as a community to which we belong, and to serve that community with love and respect. Thank you.